a victory in the Europa League. Who was it for? Nottingham Forest? Whoever wins that, it could come, for Aston Villa, sorry, it could come that they won't finish in the Champions League unless that happens. They can't catch the team that is sitting, obviously.
Chelsea, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
they won't.
So my question, which I've gone around the houses to get to, is if you're a top-class manager, like obviously Xabi Alonso has been mentioned, do you really want this job?
Well, until I saw Spurs at the weekend, I probably would have given you a different answer. But seeing what Xabi has managed to do with this Tottenham team, the answer has to be yes. The problem right now is this team, no question, is lacking direction and they're lacking a real leader on and off the field. This team has got no guts. It's got no balls, cojones, whatever you want to call it, they lack that. And you can just... They're trying to play football. I'm not saying they're not trying. They're trying to pass the ball and they're trying to... But where's that extra dynamism? Where's that extra energy and desire? I mean, you watch Nottingham Forest and it's a real simple setup. They defend strong, and then they boss with pace. But when you watch Nottingham Forest players, and Spurs players had it at the weekend, whenever they're doing something, they are absolutely bang out. Every single piece of them is doing it. This Chelsea side are just trying to play football without a real emotion. And the energy around the crowd, you can hear it.
So how much does a manager come in and change that?
Well, I think the right manager can absolutely do that.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I've just seen Xabi doing it. Oh my goodness! If you watched Tottenham at the weekend, you wouldn't. If nobody had ever seen them before, and somebody turned around after that game and told a person for the first time seeing it that this team could get relegated, they would think you were off your head. So yes, a manager can make that big a difference. But unfortunately, they don't have a manager, and between now and the end of the season, we're going to see the same gutless performances from this team.
To that point, Dan, absolutely yes, a manager does make a difference. And on that list, there are a couple of names who I don't think get a job. Felipe Luis, I don't think he gets a job. Frank Lampard, I don't think they go back there. But to your point, if you're Xabi Alonso, I'm not sure you want this job. Give him.
You won't have Champions League football.
But well, not only that. Listen, managers would embrace an opportunity to kind of build this club back up to where certainly Chelsea fans believe they should be, where we've seen them. But given the dysfunction within this club, particularly in leadership, the changing of managers, the signing of players to 9-year contracts, everything that comes along with it, I still think that Xabi Alonso's reputation is solidly in place, despite Real Madrid, despite that uncertainty and everything that came with it. You go into Chelsea, or Xabi Alonso goes into Chelsea, is met head-on with this dysfunction, and goes the way of Enzo Maresca. I think his reputation takes a really huge hit.
Right.
As we sit right now, I think Xabi Alonso is still first on any number of club lists, very well-run clubs who have money to spend and will back him without question. I'm not sure you can say that about Chelsea.
Mario, with your Chelsea hat on, who would you appoint?
Look, okay. The way Chelsea wants to play the game, Alonso would be the perfect fit, right? Because the way they want to play the beautiful game. They want to be, like the way they see themselves playing, and with all the individuals that they brought to the club, are all very talented. But they are very talented, but you ask yourself, you need an experienced head, someone that really turns up and says, like, when things go wrong, right? I don't want a guy that whispers in the other one's ear, and the other one whispers in the other one's ear and telling, like, oh, he should do this, you shouldn't. No, you need one guy in the team that clearly just stands up and just tells you right in your face. And I don't know if they have that. You know, the guy that just calls you out and tells you just straight up. Like, I give an example. The time I was at Chelsea, it was like that. You know, it's like one points a finger in the dressing room. He's the leader. He just tells you, like, hey, listen, if you don't step up, we're not gonna win the game, or you're not gonna score, or what are you thinking you're doing? You know, so everybody was pumped up, and sometimes you get angry, Because sometimes if someone calls you out, you get that passion, you get that anger, but it doesn't matter because that anger and that passion is probably what you're going to carry on onto the field. And I feel like that's missing. So whoever takes the job that's going to take control of this club, one, they have to have a good conversation with the people that is up there, what they really want. And if this manager is capable of listening to them, because they clearly have their own strategy, but they now have to make sure, if you want to make this cup bigger than what it is already, you got to understand that you're going to bring a man that has his philosophy, and you have to make sure that it fits in your philosophy. But if it's just only your philosophy, it's not going to work. The club cannot think like that. They need to go two ways.